Alright, so this one is a hand-drawn chart illustrating the development of modern art from 1936, done by the artist Alfred H. Barr Jr. So this is called Cubism and Abstract Art. So Alfred was the founding director of the Museum of Modern Art, and he wrote the introduction um, to the catalog for Cubism and Abstract Art. This exhibition was intended as a historical survey of an important movement in modern art. So this was part of the series of 5 different exhibitions between 1936 and 1943, and these were devoted to the principal movements in modern art. So this chart just essentially illustrates the historical development, currents and cross currents of modern art. Um, this was a draft for the first version of the chart that would be in the catalog for Cubism and Abstract Art in the jacket of the book. And he reworked this piece a few times afterwards. He never considered it to be complete, you know. He also worked as an instructor at Wellesley College, and he also design while he was there. He taught an innovative course in modern art, and so he included in the study of modern art painting, sculpture, photography, architecture, graphic art, music, and film. So this was the first time a course like that was being taught. The exhibition wound up occupying 4 floors in the museum gallery, and it included not just painting and sculpture, but also photography, architecture, furniture, designs for theater, typography, posters, and films. It had 400 works of art. This is one of the earlier instances of an infographic in graphic design. This is basically informational design, something that is just sort of showing a visualization of information with the flow chart method. It's a little bit messy, but I think that's part of the charm of it. You know, it's one of those definitely not definitive ever. It's never completely finished. But it definitely gives you a sense of the overlapping and the way that abstract art and cubism kind of work together. So just kind of highlighting the sheer confusion of it. He did get a bit of criticism for this image. A lot of people said it oversimplified the different movements, kind of done in a more reductive style, if you will. We're discussing artwork around the 1930s. It is only fitting that we mention the German Nazi art of the time. So this is a poster by Hans Schweitzer called Unsere letzte Hoffnung Hitler, which means Our Last Hope, Hitler. This is from 1932. There was an ally with the Nazis, and definitely became a party member in 1926. He was very conventional drawing techniques. The lettering was left over negative space, so these were just areas where there was no drawing added to the image, no color added, so it was just kind of what was left. It appeared to be carried by as a banner by these paramilitary. And this is by a guy who went by the name Leonid, and this is called Ganz Deutschland hört den Führer mit dem Volksempfänger, which means all of Germany listens to the leader with the people's receiver, from 1936. This became a huge part of representing the media of the Nazis. This was basically their ideology, a lot of group mentality kind of thinking, mass media, and just very commercialization. We've got a modern image, but we've got the fracture style text, so like sort of an older style of font is being used here. The image is depicting a very large radio at the center, towering over all of the people. You got this huge, huge crowd. Everybody's surrounding it. And we've just got two colors here. We've got basically blue and black as the entire palette. So this winds up being a very nationalist image. It kind of visualizes the voice of Hitler as a radio voice with a huge visual power. So it's sort of the mouthpiece of the state, but kind of promoting the act of listening and being a huge participant in national events. It has a very communal vibe to it. So when Hitler would give his speeches, he would basically give them at public meetings, rallies, and larger events rather than in an enclosed, smaller environment. So this public mode of address definitely appealed to the German psychology. This sort of a collective of people listening rather than being anonymous individual subjects. So this kind of brought about a lot of the anxieties about the conditions of receiving information and individual listening. So yeah, this definitely kind of helped to kind of give the vibe of the radios being outdoors, and the effort to have this radio reception to deliver the propaganda and have a very large listening community. So kind of heavy stuff. Definitely promoting the uniting of the German nation. Um, um, Germany actually took out 8 million radio licenses during the time, which was a huge, huge number for the year. So a lot of the citizens definitely had access to the radio. So this was definitely their way of delivering. Image by Gunther Nagel, which is called Hitler baut auf, which means Hitler constructs, from 1940. It is supposed to appeal to people on a personal level. And the poster reads, Hitler constructs, help him by buying German goods. And the man is a typical blonde-haired, pale, Scandinavian or Germanic looking, quote unquote, Aryan. And so basically, this idealized looking man is working with his hands and kind of seeing something that doesn't really seem very technologically advanced. So this is not so much an image of the modern times. It's kind of a throwback to the more traditional ways. And also you have the old-fashioned lettering, the fracture, and this is just kind of propaganda showing that they wanted to not really embrace anything new. They wanted to kind of go back to the old ways and keep things the way that they were before. And this is called Heimatschutz. So this means preservation of regional tradition. So this was basically protecting the German identity, the resistance to being corrupted by anything newer, especially that promoted by the Bauhaus. Around the time of the Second World War beginning, this is by an anonymous person called Chamberlain's Work. So there's just a ton of propaganda at this time. So they were using posters in addition to all of the radio and newsreels. So this was something that kind of was like a guilt-inducing poster a bit. So it features a photo of the British Prime Minister in the lower right-hand corner, and the rest of the poster features dead civilians. Um, and so the slogan saying Chamberlain's work references the murder of a group of German civilians by Polish partisans. So the poster is almost saying that the attack was planned by the British to attack the Nazis, which was actually false. The Nazis had actually attacked to provide a pretext for their invasion of Britain and Poland. So these are this image is juxtaposed by the dripping red letters saying Chamberlain's work. They're just trying to further illustrate that this is an atrocity and is supposed to kind of influence the public's opinion. It is from after the German invasion of Russia in 1941. This was a propaganda poster that was actually accurate. So this was done in constructivist style, and this was sort of a very strong illustration. This is a young woman in a German slave labor imprisonment camp, and in the background, you'll see that the Nazi soldier is shooting at people in the camp. So a lot of Russians were trapped in the death camps, um, and this was sort of meant to illustrate that point. Tens of millions of people were under the German occupation, and they did suffer this fate, so there was definitely a lot of truth to this image. And the last thing, of course, that I want to mention is the We Can Do It poster by J. Howard Miller from 1942. This was a photolithograph, and this was an image that a lot of people interpreted to be Rosie the Riveter. And Rosie was a character that was meant to personify female workers who were taking over the munitions factories during the war efforts when the men were going off to work in the infantry. So this was sort of depicting, well, people thought that this was depicting Rosie, but this was an anachronism, and basically you have this very muscular looking woman. She looks very strong. Um, Not anything like the Christie girls from before the war who were very feminized. This was not meant to be a seductive image. This was meant to motivate women to join the workforce during this time. This was meant to motivate people. This was done for the Westinghouse Electric and Manufacturing Company. It was only displayed for the factory for a little while, but this poster became extremely famous. So this was definitely a symbol of female patriotism, and sadly enough, when the war ended, a lot of industries sort of kicked the women out. They unfortunately had to leave their skilled jobs and give them to the veterans that were returning.